Okay, let's talk about the biggest mistake that happens when we talk about intervals, especially for pianists.
Here lies the interesting problem. Pianos are not just a white note and a black note, white, black, white, etc. There is this little spot, E and F, that are two white notes next to each other, or B and C, two white notes next to each other on the pattern of the keys. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because in our Western music notation anyway, we're basing our shortest interval, our smallest interval, the closest two notes can be together, is called a half step. And this is what our lines and steps, our lines and spaces are on sheet music. However, you can see on the sheet music here, we have an even number of lines and spaces, versus on the keyboard, the pattern is not even in terms of white and black notes. So we have to remember and know what a half step is when we do our kind of interval training and recognition, especially if you're just eyeballing it by looks on the piano. So what I mean is C to C sharp is a half step. Similarly, E to F is a half step, even though these are two white notes. So what the heck does this have to do with interval training? So if you go over your basic intervals and you go over your minor second, that is one single half step, the closest any two notes can be together. Now if you do that minor second from your E, say, it is an F. It is not a black note, it is a white note, because that is the shortest distance. So you really have to keep that in mind. You can do your major second. That is two half steps. That's a major second interval. Similarly, you have to remember to do two half steps here on the piano. There you go. That is your major second. Now we can do our minor third, and our minor third here would be, and then our major third. And I think if you're comfortable, especially with your major keys, you can hear that and kind of self-correct. But I do find that these lovely sets of white notes next to each other do throw my pianists off when we're starting to talk more and think more about intervals. So think about that and you'll be way ahead of the game. So just remember that it is about the half-step intervals and the notes in sequence, as opposed to a specific pattern of white or black, because that is where it might throw you off visually. And again, this is just that funky thing about piano where we have this like perfectly even and symmetrical display on our sheet music, but then we go to the piano and it is not a symmetrical situation.